Hi guys, I am doing my letter V theme of the week, and I'm not going to be changing him because he's kind of already in the theme. As you saw in yesterday's video, we went to the Eric Carle, very Eric Carle exhibit at the Children's Museum. Part 2 will be next week, where we go out in the Governor's. Sorry, I gotta get that off. The Governor's. I cannot think of the name of it now. It's basically like a backyard area. The Governor's Village is what it was called. But for V, I am gonna do Very Hungry Caterpillar. So as you can see, Gavin is in. He's a very hungry caterpillar bunting. Well, I'm probably gonna need to take it off the stroller as much as I really don't want to. It has been super nice out lately, so it's gonna get too hot for him. But, oh, I forgot the other button. And he is in his Eric Carle Very Hungry Caterpillar sleeper. It is navy blue and blue striped sleeper with the green and it's almost like an applique. The green body is like an applique with embroidery around it, and its legs are embroidered and its little hairs are embroidered, and his red face is embroidered. And up at the top, it has the orange sun. It's kind of an applique with embroidery around it that's red and yellow. So we had a good time at the Very Hungry Caterpillar, or the Very Eric Carle exhibit. My kids loved it. Their only disappointment was at the art station, they had some, like, where you could almost make like pop-up Eric Carle art, and they wanted to do those, but they were out of them. But this exhibit has been going on since December. We just haven't had a chance to get up there since. We were going to go when my mom was in town, and when we went to Waco, we just went to Build-A-Bear and came home. And even when we did the Eric Carle exhibit, we did the exhibit, we went back to the Governor's Village, and then we came home. It was super busy in Waco. I went during spring break, which it's crazy there anyways. For those of you that don't know, Chip and Joanne Gaines from Fixer Upper, they are out of Waco. They have their silos in Waco. They have a restaurant in Waco, and they actually just bought a house in Waco that's deemed the castle. It kind of looks like a little castle that they are going to be fixing up as well. And I don't know if they're fixing it up and using it as a home, if they're going to fix it up and sell it. I just know that they purchased it recently. So lots of tourism in Waco, especially downtown. And with spring break, it brings in flocks. Like, we went on Thursday morning, and as you can see by the video, it was pretty busy. We got there like an hour after the museum opened. The museum opens at 10. No, it was a little at... The museum opens at 10, and we got there probably about 10:45, so not even an hour after they open. And there was absolutely no parking in the front parking lot, so we had to go into the side lot to park. So we parked there, and it was busy, and it even got busier when we left. Like, as my kids wanted to go through the Eric Carle exhibit after we were done with the Governor's Village, and it was way too packed to even go in there. There is another side to the Children's Museum. We're members of the Children's Museum, so this won't be the only time that you'll see it. But I wanted to get the Very Eric Carle exhibit for sure this time, and my husband had never done the Governor's Village. So the kids wanted him to go with there because it's usually my mother-in-law and I taking them, or myself just taking them. My husband decided to go with this time. So we went to the Governor's Village. There is another side of the Children's Museum that is like little discovery rooms. Like one has different animals in it. It's got like some guinea pigs, a couple small bunnies, some snakes, some lizards, and like some different bugs. There's what my daughter calls the bubble room, that they have this huge pool that you step in this spot and you pull this lever and it's like a big hula hoop comes up to make a bubble around you, or you can make the bubble window, and they have this huge water area that my kids love playing in. She also loves the tea party room. My son loves the all around the world room. Then there's like a pioneer room where it's like an old campsite. They have like a stagecoach that's cut down, so literally it's sitting on the floor, so kids can pretend like they're driving the stagecoach. They've got a few saddles on sawhorses. They love to pretend playing there with other kids. I'm trying to think of what else. They've got a music room. They've got a light room. The music room, you can play different instruments. So we will definitely be going back, and I will be definitely doing other videos like in that area. As well as this time, I know we won't be able to go into it because it was so busy. But there is a section that is actually supposed to be for younger children, that last time I asked the guy, I'm like, I know that the little grocery store is in there and my kids love those pretend grocery stores, and he kind of went back there and he came back and he goes, it's not busy at all. So my kids were able to go play, and it's kind of like a little toddler type area, but it's got like a little town in it. There's a pretend backyard where you can plant vegetables, and you can plant the vegetables, and like you got a whole carrot, you shove it in the hole and then you pretend you pick it. And then it's got a little pretend house. There's a pretend fire truck. There's a pretend, like I said, the grocery store. There's a little fishing area. There's an food truck, a pretend food truck. I mean, they loved it when they were able to go play in it, and they asked to go play in it this time, but like I said, the museum was way too packed for us to do that. So this summer, I want to take them up there like some Wednesday, like in the morning, where I don't think it'll be too busy. And then I might bring one of the babies with. I'm not sure yet. It'll depend upon what happens on that day. As well as I would also love to do take them to the Dr. Pepper Museum, which is also in Waco. So there's also the Cameron Park Zoo, which is in Waco. We used to have a membership for there, and honestly we didn't use it as much. It's either way too hot to go there or way too cold. And like days like today where it's actually nice and it'd be nice to go to the zoo, they're in school. Or like last week, the zoo would have been packed. So for us, the zoo membership just didn't really pay for itself. We had it for a year, and I think we only went like 2 or 3 times. I mean, it paid for itself, but we basically broke even with the membership, where the Children's Museum membership, it's $100 a year. And when I did the math, just going 3 times, it's paid for itself. And that doesn't include other things like my mother-in-law and I took the kids to the Titanic exhibit. That one, it said no photography in the exhibit, so you couldn't take pictures in there or video it, because I'm honestly not sure. So we went through the Titanic exhibit, and my mother-in-law had to buy her own ticket, and her ticket was like $22 for herself to get into the museum and to get into the Titanic exhibit. For me and the kids to get into the Titanic exhibit, it was $16 because we got a discount with our membership. So We saved on that. And yeah, so, and we go, like I said, we've gone multiple times. What, Tiffy? Come here. Sorry. Somebody's being needy right now. But that was fun. Most people thought he was real. I wish I could have got it. When we walked into the museum, we were walking up the ramp with the stroller, and my daughter was actually pushing the stroller, and I was kind of helping her, and one of the employees was working there, and I think I'm actually I put that in the governor's village. I have to check the video. Sorry guys. I'm making this, I'm kind of doing two things at once. I'm making this video as my video is uploading. But yeah, I put it in the next video. So I'm not going to tell the story because it's going to be in next week's video, but for the most part, people thought he was real. I didn't get any real reactions. I mean, there was a few kids that would kind of come up and look in the stroller. I did have, at one point, I had the sunshade down and you could just see him kind of bundled up in the stroller. I did unzip the stroller, or the bunting, so it didn't look like I was trying to sweat my child to death in there. When we went to the governor, in the governor's village, I zipped the bunting back up. But I had it unzipped, so it wasn't like he was getting overly heated. And I did have the sunshade down at one point. And if you watched yesterday's video, you see if I move the camera up certain angles, the lights were very, very, very bright in certain areas in there. And I had the sunshade back, or when we walk in, I had the sunshade up. And then after I did that first clip, I put the sunshade down. And an employee walked up and flipped the sunshade up, and she's like, "The little guy is sleeping, just shh. The light will be too bright for him." So she flipped it back up. So I'm like, okay. Well, clearly she doesn't realize he's not real, but thank you. Thought that was kind of funny, and I didn't get that on film, and I forgot to mention that because I was just thinking about the other lady. But that's why the sunshade is up as we're inside, because it was shielding him from the bright lights, because she didn't want him woken. But yeah, so I know this isn't much of a video. It's kind of more so talking about yesterday's video, since I had to mute out parts because it was so loud in there, and you wouldn't have really heard anything that my kids were saying anyways, because all you hear is other kids screaming. Like in the one part where we were in the SpaceX area, also I can't think of his name. Is it Ethan Musk? The guy that is in charge of Tesla is also the owner of SpaceX, which is a kind of a partnership with NASA. His goal is to make consumer rockets to take you to space. So he wants to be so you can pay and able to travel to space. So they've been doing a lot of testing of rockets, and they're actually, one of their test locations is in McGregor, Texas, which is not far from Waco. There's lots of nights we can hear them testing rockets. You just hear big booms. It's that loud, and it reaches this far. We're about 40-ish miles away from it. Anyways, there's one part you see the big sun, and my kids are playing around in there. You can hear how loud it is in there, and that area didn't have many people in it. But that area, we were looking at the different things for SpaceX, so that's kind of explaining what that was. I didn't fully know what it was until after we came back through, and my son wanted to see it again, and then there was actually an employee in there, so we were able to ask a few questions. So that's what that was, and I wasn't able, and I had it in there, but I had to mute it out because it was so loud, as well as I didn't realize until I was editing that my daughter wore her shirt with her school name on it. So I needed to edit out the parts where you could see the name of her school on it. So there was some more cute parts in there that I just couldn't put up because I couldn't get my editor to edit properly to blur out that area. But so I had to cut out where I was asking, what is your favorite Eric Carle book? You can put it in the comments below. My favorite Eric Carle book is The Very Lonely Firefly. First time I read it, I bawled, and I absolutely fell in love with that book. I love Eric Carle books to begin with. Going back to remembering reading Brown Bear in kindergarten. And then, it was the big thing when Polar Bear came out. And of course, the classic Very Hungry Caterpillar. Then there's the Very Clickety Clumsy Beetle and the Very Busy Spider. So, and I found my ladybug toy. My Eric Carle ladybug toy. I was going to get a Very Hungry Caterpillar toy, but I found this one. We've had this one. It was my daughter's when she was little. So, anyways, comment below what your favorite Eric Carle book is, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye!